Anyways, guys, the draft is less than 2 weeks away, and we have an absolute banger ready for y'all. Yeah, it's edge rushers. This position is absolutely loaded. And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the NFL. Please like and subscribe. Hope you all are ready for our 2026 NFL Draft Edge Rusher Prospect Rankings. This is the most electric position on the defensive side of the ball. This is my favorite position in the entire NFL, and this is going to be an absolute, again, it's going to be a dandy to go through all these guys. Again, update for y'all. My guess is I'm going to try to get the the running back rankings out by probably Friday if I had to guess, and then quarterback will definitely be, that won't take too very long. Yeah, love this class, guys. Receiver is going to be a little bit longer one for me, but I'll figure out how to get that out before y'all. Probably Monday if I had to guess by the latest, and then quarterback right before we get to our final mock draft, which will be a week from Wednesday. And then again, we have the NFL draft, and I'll give you guys a recap of everything. Sunday, I'll probably be a lot of big boards throughout the offseason, but yes, my big board will be revealed either on that Wednesday, or I might even do a whole separate feature of that, depending on what's going on. But again, we got some pretty crazy stuff going on. I'll be away for a little bit, so you won't be seeing anything probably over the next week. But here, get these edge rushers out. We will be going through 20 total, guys. Again, we have 5 honorable mentions. Edge rusher prospects this year is absolutely loaded, as I did mention in the intro. We have 3 of the better prospects in the entire NFL draft. We'll be looking at those guys today. And again, it's definitely a pretty big range between prospects, but there's just, again, a lot of good players this year, and I think that's, again, really needs to be talked about. Also, guys, these honorable mentions, all these guys, if we're talking about over grades, I think all of them are actually over a 73 from what I remember. So, again, really good class. I'm going to be, honestly, look at the past, again, positions. I'm definitely going to be a lot faster with these guys because, again, just a little bit pressed for time here, but still going to get y'all what you guys need to know. With that said, we'll start with Malachi Lawrence here with the honorable mentions. He's out of UCF, and he is an absolute beast. He is a power-centric rusher who is very, very consistent at being able to kind of create displacement and then using some sort of, I won't even say improv. He actually is, it really is an improvisation because he doesn't really have any true plan when he's going out. Again, it's always just attack with a little bit of speed. So again, kind of a little bit of tendency to, stutter and then go into that power, which usually is a really bad sign. But for what he's able to do, and considering the consistent production we've seen out of him out of 3 years, even though he hasn't truly gotten a ton better in some areas, is something that I really think, again, you got to value. And even though, again, like I said, he's not the most flashy player, he's pretty ineffective against the run. But his pass rush consistency is something that a lot of teams will need. In terms of a rotational guy, third pass rusher, he'll be huge, especially on those late downs, because he's a guy that if you rotate him, you'll get a pressure out of him, which I really think is huge for him. But yeah, there are definitely some concerns about his overall outlook, though. That's what I'll say on him. And also, he definitely doesn't have the highest ceiling. Mason Reader's a guy that actually does have a high ceiling out of Wisconsin. He's 6'4". Not the biggest guys, but he has really good explosiveness there. He had a really bad injury after Louisville, then transferred to Wisconsin. Had his best year of his career. He was actually pretty solid against the run overall. Shed a lot more blocks than we saw in 2023. Also, really just think it was the maturity. I will see athleticism really quite wasn't there. Again, I think having the injury really did hurt him. But at the same time, he's just a guy that's going to give you very high level. Really just anticipation with things, and also he's very, very consistent with his leverage, can really manipulate what a tackle will do off of that, and that's something that a lot of these guys we'll get into aren't able to do. And that's also, guys, something when we talk about edge rushing prospects, the biggest things I noticed that are just the most rare, obviously, is advanced pass rush moves. That's just something that doesn't really come very often, and there's actually probably only 2 or 3 guys that I really think have legit moves off of that. Then you also have the ability to manipulate leverage, which is something that, again, most guys in the NFL are able to do at a high level at some point, develop that. And then obviously the third one is just being a beast. There's usually some guys that have it, but it's not, again, I want to say it's rare because it's fair. But anyways, we'll go to Romel Height now. He's not my favorite prospect, but he is pretty good. He's also really old, out of Texas Tech. I mean, he played for like 4 other schools, but last year at Texas Tech, he had an absolutely monster year. Again, everyone's talking about David Bailey, but even though he didn't really get as much attention, he still had a freaking really good year. I think he actually had the highest pressure rate on their team. Yeah, David Bailey didn't even do that. But, he didn't really play at all at Auburn as a freshman. Or I guess redshirt freshman. I guess sophomore season he played. I'm not going to lie. I don't think I watched many snaps from that season. I know he got injured. It was really bad. Then he went to USC, stunk there. He just very ineffective. Georgia Tech, he actually was pretty good. I really liked his run defense that season. He was very, very consistent at, again, isolating tight ends and being able to kind of exploit that. But at the same time, that wasn't really much of a thing last year with him. He was really just, again, pass rush centric, which I thought was huge, really boosted his draft stock. At the end of the day, though, he's a very one-dimensional pass rusher, being that he does not have the bend to really consistently threaten the edge, which is something that some guys will get into or really kind of hold them back a little bit. For him, though, it is a debilitating in a lot of ways weakness of his that's going to hurt his ability to, consistently get pressure. But at the same time, he does have, again, significant impact as a power rusher, and he does have really high run-stopping upside. So I want to, again, really acknowledge that with him. But yeah, there's just, I'm not a big fan of him because of the fact that he just doesn't have the, what are we doing? He doesn't have the, again, kind of the goods as a speed rusher for me to, again, buy into him. Terry Sapp's a bigger dude. Some people even say he's a defensive tackle, but he is a guy that really is just going to attack you laterally off the edge, which is pretty insane. He's very mellow tempoed, I'd say, probably off the line even. But he's a guy last year, again, only 1 sack, but the pressure rate was still good enough, I'd say, to still, again, warrant him being drafted somewhat. It was somewhat of a valuable pick, but at the same time, again, you saw the production definitely dipped. I can't lie to that. It was kind of a little bit of a disappointing season there in 2025, but at the same time, a lot of the weaknesses we saw in 2024, mainly with being able to kind of have some sort of explosiveness, which wasn't there in 2024, that did show up mostly on tape last year. So again, I got more assurances than I was expecting, because he was just the guy that I looked at. I'm like, he had a worse season than he did as a junior, as in 2024. And the fact that, again, 2025, he still showed some improvement, which it was pleasantly surprising for me. For a guy that, again, a lot of people were pretty down on. Michael Kamara, though, we'll round out with him. There's not much I want to say on him. I mean, you can go watch his tape at Indiana. There's plenty of availability there. But yeah, he's one of the Signetti guys. I mean, what else do you guys want me to tell y'all? He was dominant in 2023 at JMU. I think he was one of the best defenders in the conference that year. 2024 in Indiana, he got it was a ridiculous amount of pass rush opportunities. And I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. The only game that I really cared to watch from that year was the Notre Dame game, and he got absolutely abused. So that's what I'll say there. Last year, the numbers weren't pretty. It's probably the best way to put it. The pressure rate wasn't even that pretty, but a lot of his job was basically, honestly, the dirty work. And that part of his game is going to be huge for a lot of NFL teams, because there's just not a lot of guys that are well-rounded enough, at least in this day and age, to kind of justify putting them on the field in certain situations. So the fact that he can do that, and there's some pass rush upside, is somewhat warranted for him to be drafted somewhat decently. But again, there's definitely a cap to what he's going to be able to do in the league. The first of many guys we will be briefly looking at today is Zion Young, Missouri's prized edge rusher. After transferring from Michigan State in 2 seasons where he just really didn't get to play a lot, he had back-to-back very, very consistent and really up and coming seasons, as he just showed absolute raw explosiveness in 2024, and in 2025 that was harnessed a lot more into what was, again, a much more well-rounded season, and saw a uptick in pass rush efficiency. With that said, looking at Zion as a prospect and his overall makeup, he is an athlete. That's just something you got to start out with. But overall, there's a lot of explosive things we want to talk about. Ignore these numbers. I don't even know why they're still here. But again, before we really get into what he is, I just wanted to say again, the traits for edge rushers. For me, a lot of this is basically what I actually really care about. There's a lot of people that'll say length is really important. We'll get into, obviously, Reuben Bain, and that's his only flaw, other than a couple other things. But there's things like that I just don't. Again, it's objectively important, but if it's not really pressing me on film, and even then, I'm not a person who really likes to take physical traits and really say that's, again, a huge precursor to what they're going to do in the NFL. Obviously, there is a lot of merit to that, but I'm just not someone who really adopts that philosophy to its fullest. Still, though, most of these are pretty normal. Again, the finesse rush is kind of a weird thing, but we'll get into that. Anyways, though, pre-snap positioning, this is basically how versatile you are in terms of alignment. Zion Young is very versatile. He's got a great body. Stop right there. But for the NFL, he's got purpose. If you're gonna make a guy in the lab, this is what he's gonna be. He, again, Talking about length, he's got really good length. 3-tech, probably where you want to put him, again, in some situations. Very, very versatile, really good with this. It's not elite versatility because he's not a guy you can just throw in any spot next to him to dominate, but still, he's pretty close to that. First step is really explosive. It's not exactly something I think that he weaponizes to its fullest, but at the same time, he does have a really good first step. I wanted to acknowledge that. Second step, not so much. This is something, again, I think a lot of people really ignore. If you don't have a good second step as a pass rusher, your first one, I won't say goes to waste, but it's your second one's really what influences how the rep goes. And, for me, his second step isn't really something I wouldn't say similar to his first step, but more of, he doesn't really use it to consistently manipulate what he wants the tackler to do. Ben's a 62. It's not a pretty thing with him. He's very straight line. Honestly, it's just because even on the inside, if we're talking about being a lateral mover, it's just he can't really establish an edge in the first place. And the fact that we look on the interior, him not even being able to angle off certain plays, again, it's a little bit of an issue. Definitely below average for him though. Again, really just off the tape. His handwork efficiency is really good. This is something that I kind of adopted as a kind of a overall, how well do you use your hands to, again, basically win the rep. And for him, it's more about the effectiveness and like how powerful his hands are and violent they are more than actually landing it. If you're a very accurate, a very precise guy, if we're looking at a guy like Leatu Latu, who's in the NFL right now, again, he's a very technically gifted guy for the Colts. Very good player. But he's not a guy you look at who's going to consistently just, again, chop down the tackle's arms and just basically rip through him. He's going to be a guy that's going to attack him with a precise angle, get into his kitchen, go under, and then go across. Very intricate things, I'd say. Zion Young's just not that. I'm not saying he's not accurate, but I'm saying that his punches are going to basically, he's going to try to annihilate the tackle, and it works really well. That's why it's a 91. Handwork improvisation, we don't need to talk about with him. It's not that big of a deal. Leverage today, I gave a 96. He's very integral here. That's really all I have to say on that. Strength, I mean, he's just an absolute beast. Bull rush is really good. This is his main move. I mean, he uses like 80% of the time. Yeah, he doesn't really have a second move. That's really where this comes in. And even his top move is just not really there. And it's because he doesn't have any sort of actual variance to his pass rush, which, again, is probably his biggest flaw. That's why it's a 29. I didn't really account too much into this because, let's be honest, guys, he will develop a first move, but he doesn't really have a some sort of go-to he goes to. And that's just, again, you look at this and you're thinking, yeah, this is probably not a guy who would be taking probably the top 3 rounds, but there's some, again, a lot of these other intangibles are just things you're not going to be able to coach, so that's what I'll say on that. He'll be able to figure that out. Finesse rush is an 81. This is used very rarely, but I like the fact that he can use a spin move at times and also be able to kind of move off of it with kind of a soft sort of speed rip. That's what I'll say on that. His speed rush overall, I gave a 72. Again, he has some throw off the edge, but again, his bend isn't really good enough to completely complement that. And I already run way over time on this, so I'm going to go a little faster here. Relentlessness, he doesn't let the play die. He makes a lot of plays. Again, if you see things, obviously. He sets the edge really well. Overall, as a run defender, he's very impactful. Solid athlete. I'm going to say 76 potential. Just a cap of what his overall pass rush makeup can be. 80, though, because he's a very solid prospect. He really has no true weaknesses other than the fact that he doesn't really have an established first move, which, again, will definitely happen. Drake Jackson's my comparison. Drake Jackson, he played for the Niners for 1 year. He get a 3-sack first game of the season. He's a big what-if story, but Zion Young is the exact same archetype. Now we move on to R. Mason Thomas, which for me is one of the guys that I'm kind of just, I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit fatigued watching him. I've watched this guy play for all 4 years at Oklahoma. Again, I've seen a lot of football at R. Mason Thomas, and he is an exceptional athlete, I can tell you that. But the biggest things that I've seen with him that really, I'd say, frustrate me are the fact that he's never really been able to truly put together a complete game. And that's just something that kind of baffles me with his pressure rate and just really overall dominance in terms of just being able to be better than just basically everyone off the line, which is just, again, it just kind of sucks because, I mean, he obviously was our best passer for the past few years. It really wasn't even that close. But he's just a guy that you look at and you're thinking, again, what if with Oklahoma if he was able to become a little bit more well-rounded? But, again, obviously, fantastic player. Him as a prospect, though, there's a lot of stuff I think here that's just kind of irrelevant. Like, obviously, he has a good first step. Obviously, he has an even better second step. It doesn't really take a genius to know that. He is a speed-centric pass rusher that wins off the line every single play. You're going to have a great first step, and you're going to have an even better second step for that to be the case. His pre-snap positioning is not going to be very, it's definitely be a limit for him. He's going to be a guy that's going to be a wide 9 probably every single game, and even then, you look at him as a run defender, that's just not something you really want to put him. So it's definitely an inhibitor on his profile, but at the same time, again, I don't really care when you get off the line like this. His bend is elite, I mean, or special, I guess is the best way to put it. I'm kind of geared to this kind of being like, I give this out for, again, a lot of these traits. Again, if you stand out here, I'm going to give you a 95, and he obviously does. Handle efficiency is really solid, honestly. Again, it's not that bad. I think he definitely developed this really a lot, considering he didn't play a lot his first years. Improvisation, I give a 78. He does have some fluidity to his pass rush moves. It's just, I don't really think there's anything built off of it, so that's why it's not getting exactly advanced. Leverage consistency is something he's always struggled with. I don't really care, though, because it's never been a huge issue. Strength, 73. Yeah, he's just kind of a guy that's not going to really blow you away. His bull rush, though, is actually pretty solid because he actually does get some pretty decent displacement, and that is because he does generate a considerable amount of force because of his really just raw, I don't even say it's strength. It's just, he gets displacement. Give him credit there. I like his first move. It's really kind of a second move, though, because, again, he's really just a guy that's going to try to blow by you. He does have some, I won't even call it, it's kind of like a fake ghost move. That's kind of his second move. It's like a feint. It works really well. Finesse rush, this is kind of a really just in a lot of ways a counter. Again, cutting across the offensive line, and even then, he doesn't want to engage a lot. So his finesse rush is very, very hard to engage with, and I think that's, again, a huge, really good trait to have there. I honestly don't care how many plays he makes. Again, really, this is just kind of suffice there. He doesn't set the edge well at all. It's really bad. His block shedding is also atrocious. This comes to the fact that he can't really take on blocks, and he always gets hit in the grill. So this, again, it's kind of just, again, impeding on his ability to shed blocks. And also, his off-the-ball impact, you're not going to see him being off the ball. 89, though, for an athleticism. He is definitely a standout athlete in this year's class. I give him 79 because I think he's a guy that will probably be a productive pass rusher in the league, but to what extent, when he won't be able to be on the field as much as I think teams would want to put him out there. Yannick Ngakoue was similar in the sense of him being a very, very speed-centric pass rusher, but he was a much better run defender. So maybe if Mason Thomas can definitely turn into that, that would be huge.
Both of them already active in making the pre-snap adjustments. This is Castellanos keeping, and the Canes all over a Mesidor.
Now we move on to Akheem Mesidor, who obviously had a brutal injury at West Virginia, which allowed him to play a couple extra seasons, we'll say that, but he just had the best year of his career. He is probably the only guy, no, there's two other guys I might get into on their advanced pass rushing profiles, but he's the only guy in this year's draft that I really think has an extensive pass rush profile. He has 8 legit moves, and it comes to the fact that he is that experienced, and again, it's a very rare find. Last year, we didn't have anyone close to as advanced as him as a pass rusher. And really, honestly, you can go back to even a couple years before that where we really had one. Again, Leite Latu was the first one that comes to mind. There were a couple other guys that kind of shaded throughout the years. But it's very hard to find a guy that's, again, not only, again, a really high-touted prospect, but also a guy that has this ability. Again, it's very rare. There's some guys who go down to the board that have some things like that. That again, I'm not going to talk about in this video, but they just don't have the really the gift athleticism or really the pedigree to really prove that to really be a useful trait for them. But still, Akheem Mesidor, he obviously just had the best year of his career at Miami. Him and Reuben Bain, I mean, they absolutely were gross. That's kind of a thing that couldn't impede him. But yeah, his numbers kind of tell the story for y'all last year. He was an absolute monster. Him as a prospect, though, some things I want to talk about. He is not a guy you look at as like a blowaway athlete. I gave him a 79, but that's really because he just kind of has the qualifier for, again, an NFL athlete off the edge, but it's nothing insane. Pre-snap positioning is very important for him. He's a guy that is very, very consistent at setting what the leverage is going to look like on the snap, which I think is really interesting because, again, if you're a tackle, you kind of just have to, like, anticipate what he's going to want to do and then kind of maybe work off that. But other than that, there's really no other way for a tackle to kind of get on the right side of that situation. But still, yeah, again, even in 3-tech, he's able to do that really well. His first and second step are not really that special at all. I mean, you can watch it. I mean, again, it doesn't really do a lot for anybody. Ben's a 75. Honestly, I just gave that to him because, again, it is functional, but really, realistically, it's definitely something that's not going to help him. His handwork efficiency is not great. Some people are like, what the hell are you talking about? If he has like 8 moves, how is it not? He is not a powerful guy when it comes to certain moves. Like his club move, even his forklift move. I don't even know how to describe it. But that move he uses, there's no real engagement of straight up, I'm going to knock the crap out of you, at least in terms of your arms. That just doesn't really happen with him, especially with his arm. Again, length not being elite either. So that's what I'll say on that. Improvisation's a 98. Again, he has like 6 different moves in his bag. I don't really need to get into that. Again, you'll see something like, what the hell was that? And then you're like, oh yeah, that's probably because he knows what he's doing with that. Other important things here, his strength is definitely solid. I think his bull rush is actually a huge value here. Again, it's just something, again, just another thing to kind of help him out there. His second move is awesome. Again, it's Again, yeah, obviously his first move is the scissor move, which I haven't really gotten into too much a lot. But again, you look at guys like Aiden Hutchinson, his first move is a scissor move. But then he has kind of like a club chop off of that with actual speed, which is really cool. Obviously, his finesse rush is his best move. It's the freaking scissor move, but coincides well. Speed rush is actually an elite thing with him because he really can change tempo and get going, even if his bend doesn't really complement that. I don't care how relentless he is because he's going to win anyway. Setting the edge, gave an 81. Something that actually is really underrated value of his. He sheds blocks better than anyone else in this year's class. Athleticism, like I said, is 79. Potential is an 80. The reason I say he's only an 80 is because I don't really ever think he'll be a guy that's going to be able to consistently be. He doesn't have any elite. Really, he doesn't have the, I would say, just doesn't have the juice, in my opinion, to consistently be a guy that I think could be putting up, I don't know, 15 sack seasons or something like that, or ever be able to. That's just not his ceiling, but he is a guy that I think could be considered to be like a guy like Zadarius Smith. So he should be, again, pretty solid potential, but there's definitely an extent to which that will actually happen. Now let's go to Cashius Howell, who is coming off an elite year at Texas A&M. He is a really fun guy to watch on tape. I'm not going to lie to y'all. He just flies around. But he's hella light, and he is not a guy that is pretty to the eyes as a run defender. I'll just tell you that right now. That was a big thing I noticed on tape from him last year. But he had 11.5 sacks, was among the best producers off the edge in college football last year, and again, especially in the SEC against some really good tackles. He absolutely just roasted them most of the time. He had himself a season. Bowling Green, before transferring, that was probably his best year overall. If we're talking about just true dominance, I don't think there was a single game he didn't go without at least 5 pressures. But other than that, guys, again, he's just a very highly effective edge rusher. That's just the best way to put it, and it's because of his blazing speed. He is a guy that, despite not having a great first step, explodes in that second step. His first step is kind of like it's kind of like a lift, but not something, again, it's not like he doesn't shoot out. He steps, then he explodes. It's a good transition. Even then, though, his second step isn't really that special because, again, at some point, you need a really good first step for that second step to really, again, be that great. But at the same time, he's probably, again, the limit to that sort of paradox there. His pre-snap positioning is 65 because, I mean, you got to, I wouldn't say even say in a Y9. He's kind of just a 7-eye guy. And if he's not there, it's going to be kind of an issue for your defense. Really nice bend. Again, it's just really good, to be honest with you guys. It's something that stands out to me. I don't think he's a guy that can consistently completely make a guy whiff. But at the same time, he has a very tight turn around the edge there. I don't care about his handwork that much. Yeah, he's pretty creative, but not really a big thing with me. What I do want to talk about is his really just overall makeup as a power rusher here. His strength, again, is really minimal. We're talking about leverage here. He's a guy that will get influence in terms of the run game. His leverage is definitely not good at all. Yeah, his bull rush, I think, is just very not great. His top move, though, is a speed rip move, and it is gross. It's because he threatens the edge every single play with it, and again, it wins very consistently, to be honest with you guys. His finesse rush, really just straight up speed rush also works, but his finesse rush, really being crossing the guy, the tackle's face is something that I really think a lot of other guys could definitely stand as a use, but other than that, there's not really much to go off of with that, because again, he doesn't use it as often as you'd think. Yeah, he doesn't set the edge wall at all. Again, really just overall, he's a big minus as a run defender, which kind of hurts him a lot. Because that and the fact that he isn't a guy you really look at to, again, be a high-volume playmaker in the NFL. I understand that his production is definitely there, but he doesn't really finish plays that good at all, guys. That's another thing here with him. He's a guy that has a lot of good hypothetical or like under-the-hood sort of traits that are definitely projectable, but if we're talking about concrete results, that's not something you're going to exactly get out of him, other than, again, obviously last year 11.5 sacks, but if you watch the tape, he could have had a lot more. 78th overall off the ball impact. He's a guy that I think could definitely be utilized in some, at least in some way there. He's a pretty damn good athlete. 81 for the potential. I think he's a little bit overrated here, but at the same time, he's a guy, 78.3, very grounded and very solid game plan. But Josh here should make a comparison. They're, again, very, I'd say, overstated athletes that have really fun characteristics.
He has latitude at the line of scrimmage to make some checks. That one's batted down by Perkins.
Now we're going to hit with Perkins, who I have got my fair share of duties with. I scouted him last year before he decided to go back to college. I'm kind of pissed about that. I'm joking. Last year, though, not really as good, really, at all as he was in 2023 or 2022. He kind of had a bad year, I'm not going to lie to y'all, but I will say he was still very, very effective off the ball and shows, again, valuable versatility at this position. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie to you guys, he definitely did not look the same as he did the other 2 years. That's because of his injury. Again, when your knee doesn't move right, it's kind of hard to be good. But anyways, Harold Perkins as a prospect is just really really by this. He's an off-the-ball player that has very, very, obviously not Jersey, but he's a guy that's going to be obviously at the line of scrimmage, but he has very, very, has a very, very high ceiling and the ability to, you know, I don't know, shoot off that and go cover, play 10 yards downfield. Something he's very good at. Pass rusher, I'm not going to lie, definitely the most flawed guy in this year's draft that we'll get to. But yeah, his presentation is very limited. He's going to be, I wouldn't say that. This is kind of tough. If we're talking about a true pass rusher, you don't want him anywhere near the interior. Even off the edges of 9, he's still not that effective because he needs to have actual variance in his pass rush there, and even he just doesn't have that. I will say, though, his first step and second step are the best of this position in this year's draft. I don't even really see it being that close, at least with the combination of it, because I will say, again, definitely a couple more times to some of the guys, again, he's going to win every time off the edge. I truly mean that with them. He's going to have the head start every time. Ben's a 92. Really just, this comes down back to just gifted athleticism and just being that flexible. His ankle flexion specifically, he really just gets low there. Again, we just talked about him, his overall power game here. It's just not there. He's never really been a true power rusher, and he's never really had a power game as a pass rusher, and that really won't change. I will say his first move, being a ghost move, is actually really good. It's just I don't really think it's that developed. A lot of flashes with the speed rush, though. Again, he's going to just basically attack you with speed every play with at least somewhat of a plan, but it's not going to be anything special. His finesse rush is ugly. He never really engages very well. He's a guy that's going to try to win with the minimal contact is probably the best way to put it. He's somewhat relentless. This really comes down to the fact that, again, he really gets the run. He's able to, you know, diagnose plays there. I give 86 for playmaking. He's a guy that just really, again, has made it his entire career, and I don't really see that changing in the league. I don't really care about his ability to set the edge or shed blocks, or at least somewhat with that, but he's going to be a guy that's going to be, again, really unseen off-the-ball impact other than Arvell Reese, which we'll get to at the end with this. But anyways, athleticism, he's a really good athlete. I'd say he used to be even better, but he still shows you that. I gave him 80 potential. There's just a cap to what this guy will be able to do as a pass rusher, or really, again, warrant a higher potential there, but still 82.5, really fun prospect. It's just the fact that this guy definitely isn't as good as I think he could have definitely been. But hey, to each their own.
Dalton, the receiver, goes in motion from left to right. Downing looking left, pressure coming, and sack.
Now let's look at Duke's nerd, Vincent Anthony Jr., the edge rusher here. Obviously, we're looking at edge rushers. He was a 4-year starter for Duke. None of those 4 years were really all that special. Last year, though, he was. We saw an uptick in his overall pass rush snaps, which was actually pretty interesting. And he did not disappoint with his highest pressure rate per snap, or I don't even know. It was something like it was a weird stat like that. He got a lot more displacement. And we definitely saw a more, I'd say, energized version of him after a 2024 season that saw a lot of really just maintaining block. I wouldn't say maintaining blocks. That's not the way to put it. He maintained his gap. He, I don't know, won somewhat in a rep, influenced the pocket. And then last year we might have saw him completely shed a block or, you know, went upfield, things like that we just didn't really see on a consistent basis in 2024, and that kind of, you know, put him in the picture here. But for Vincent Anthony, he's definitely a good athlete. He's got elite, again, really good size. You can put him in a lot of different spots and still be pretty good, especially against the run. Huge for integrity there. Overall, though, he's lacking any sort of get off there. Again, a lot of it's kind of, he uses a control tempo, but we're talking about a quick game here. He's not a guy that's going to really be seeing a lot of success in those sort of situations. His bend's kind of just average. I don't have much else to say. It's something that's going to be there. He has some sort of threat, but it's not really something that a lot of tackles really care about. Very, very accurate with his punches. He's a guy that, if we're talking about a club move, really lands that every single time. Maybe not with the, again, exact strength, power you would want, but he can definitely work with it. Improv, it's very limited, but the kind of process he goes through is really concrete, and I really like what he does with it. And it's just being able to say, if this tackle makes a little bit of a wrong step, maybe I'll go I want to say not maybe, I'm going to jab, bam, go. Those sort of things. Like, he has a very straightforward pathway there, and I think a lot of these other guys in this year's class just don't even think of that. And I just think that, again, that's really where this comes in. Even though his actual innate ability to this isn't really that great. Yeah, he's very disciplined with leverage, and that's just because, again, his strength is pretty damn good. And obviously his bull rush is his main move. I don't need no one who's really know anything about this. Not much of a speed game or really anything of that extra variance. His second move is pretty good though. That's obviously the inside counter. Or really a flush. The reason I say it's a flush, he kind of just flushes the offensive lineman out of the play. Which kind of works because if he doesn't win, I mean, that's pretty good too. Other things that are really important here, I mean, I guess he says he has pretty well, but it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, he doesn't have any speed rush. He's not going to threaten you up the field really much at all. Block shedding is really nice, though. Again, this really speaks to, again, his ability to stop the run. And I gave him 74 for the athleticism. Again, he didn't really test too great. He just, again, really didn't look like a great athlete on tape either. This is probably the most limited guy in this year's draft. He'll be definitely a power rusher. I don't see this guy getting more than 5 sacks in the season. Dietrich-wise, the reason I say that is because he was a 3-tech. Maybe he can find more success there. But that's Vincent Anthony for you, a very refined prospect.
The special ones as well.
Daniels with a pump. He's going to roll to his right, and he is going to break free. He lost the ball.
Now we're into one of the bombshell prospects in this year's draft. That's David Bailey out of Texas Tech. Everyone knows his name. He had an absolutely insane season last year. He is the explosive demon off the edge in this year's draft, if you want to put it like that. Again, you all know who he is. I don't really need to go too much deeper at that. But yes, he transferred from Stanford, got a massive NIL deal, and was the best edge rusher in the country last year. But for David Bailey, look at him as a prospect. He is, again, just a burst of absolute, like, fury is probably the best way to put it. Pre-snap, you can put him probably all the way to 3-tech and still be okay because of his anchoring ability, again, against the run at least. But getting off blocks and some sort of things there could definitely be a little problematic. But as a pass rusher, really, really good. His first step is definitely special. I mean, again, there's a reason he's able to win pretty consistently, vertically. Second step's also pretty good. I actually like his technique with this. He's really interesting. I won't say he stutters, but he makes it so there's kind of sort of like a Euro step sort of feel, or like sway in that second step, which I think, again, is very appeasing is probably the best way to put it. His bend is absolutely gross. He just, again, completely just disappears. There's no other way to put it. Again, when he bends down, it's like he's kind of contorting himself. He doesn't use his hands too great. That's probably the best thing I'll say on that. It's still pretty efficient, though, so I'm not too mad on that. And again, he wins too much to really, again, that's always a good thing, to really get too deep into his improvisation. Again, obviously, we look at his pass rusher. He's an effective bull rusher. It's just not something that he has been consistent with. And I will say his top move isn't really much of a actual move, which is something that I think he definitely could work on. That's it really, again, we talk about a 73 being your lowest thing. That is something he's got to get better at. I will say his speed rush, though, is obviously off the charts. Again, he uses it every single snap, and it works almost every single snap, so good for him. But his finesse rush could definitely be a little bit more fluid. That's probably the best thing with that. And the reason I say that is because he's kind of just got a straight cross chop for that, and that's just, again, kind of peculiar for me at least. Other things that are really prominent here, his athleticism. Again, he's obviously a special athlete. I mean, you're not going to be making defenders look like that without having some sort of, again, gifted athleticism there. 93 for the potential. This is going to be a guy that's going to be absolutely gross. I'm just going to tell you that. 92.2, highest we've seen so far here. Brian Burns, very, very similar posture profile. So David Bailey can, develop some secondary moves. He'll be right there with Brian Burns if he reaches that potential. Now we're on to Keryon Crawford, the Auburn Edge rusher, obviously, he's another guy who was in a duo. As he was in a duo with, what's his name, the freaking Keldric Foulk, we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, he wasn't really a guy that I really even thought much of. I mean, I watched a little bit of his 2023 Arkansas State tape where he wasn't playing anyone good. But last year, or 2024 with Auburn, he was an absolute chud. There's no other way I can put it. Against the run, he was basically useless. Again, he didn't play a ton, I'll be honest with y'all. But he didn't really do a lot. I think he had like 4 pressures the entire season, which is insane. Last year, he made a lot more plays, again, in terms of, again, what we saw in 2024. But again, really the thing with him is he's just a guy that you I wouldn't say fall in love with on tape, but just a lot of the fluidness and the decisiveness in his plan as a pass rusher is just, it's rare. And it's not something that I really see him, I don't think he worked that as much. It's just something he's able to do. It's just super rare there, but there is, again, kind of a weird thing where he's not producing or dominating to where that, again, ability is really shining out. That's probably the best way I can say on him. But overall with them, as a prospect, Keryon, yeah, there we go. He's just a guy that doesn't really have anything super stand out with him. Again, we'll get to Gabe Jacas at the end. He's very similar because their explosiveness doesn't really, it's sneaky is probably the best way to put it, because yeah, he's able to get off sometimes and win, but again, kind of a 50-50 there. His bend is definitely really bad, definitely below average. He really never threatens the outside a ton, and even then when he is able to win there, it's a lot of push. There's not much bend, literal bend. Handwork effectiveness, efficiency I gave it 90. He's really just got violent hands, to be honest with you guys. Again, when he attacks upfield with speed, it's very hard to combat that. Leverage is, he really actually is a very good understanding of this, because when a tackle gets off guard or isn't anchored, he's able to kind of manipulate their priorities to make it so that he can still get at least some pressure on the play or at least influence the pocket. He's got definitely really good elite raw strength. Just watch him move some dudes. His bull rush and his first move are really solid. Again, they just work really well together. But there's no true standout thing about either of them. His finesse rush is definitely bad. He is going to give you anything as a speed rusher. He can attack with speed, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to build anything off of that. And then also setting the edge gave an 89 because I don't think there was a game last year where he got actually flushed out of a play on the edge. And then I gave him 93 for block shedding because almost every other block he just, swipes and there he is. Athleticism 83, solid athlete, measurably at least. Potential gave it 79. There's definitely a limit to what he'll be able to do, but he'll still be a guy that I think can make plays pretty consistently. 75.5 overall. Alquan Muhammad, who's definitely turned himself into a pretty good player, was at least athletically a decent enough comparison. But still, you look at those two, and they're just very, very similar with their pedestrian approaches off the line.
And now Gabriel's going to get dragged down for a loss by Derrick Moore.
Now up is Derrick Moore, which is Michigan's lone edge rusher that was worth a damn last year, I guess. He obviously combined for nearly more sacks in 2025 than he had the other 3 seasons, and that was due to an absolute dominant mid-season or more towards the middle of the season run where you saw his really fake spin and just straight speed to power kind of take over. 10 sack season in total. His run defense, I don't really think does anything. These numbers don't really do it justice. But he was probably overall the most technically fine run defender in the Big Ten for much of last season, which I thought was really interesting. But you look at him as a prospect, Derrick is not a guy that's going to wow you in a ton of ways. Yes, he has an explosive first step. There's no way around that. But the second step kind of just slows himself down, so kind of, combats it, takes that down a little bit. But, yeah. I don't think this is as big an issue because if you put him as a 3-tech or even a 4-eye, he is a guy that is going to still give you, again, the win with the first step. Because, again, you look at the interior, the second step isn't really as big of a deal. His bend's an 89. Honestly, this is kind of where the versatility comes in. He is a guy that you can kind of consistently expect to, get a pretty good threat towards the edge. It's just how much are you really going to want to take that with a second step that's going to kind of be kind of a roadblock in his journey to the quarterback. Handwork efficiency is a 57. I mean, he's just got brick for hands. That's the best way I can put it. We talk about receivers like that. How about him? I mean, his hands are slow. They're not powerful. They're not accurate. I mean, there's just not much going on there. And he has no improvisation because he just doesn't use his hands. I don't know what else to tell you guys. Leverage consistency is 73. Again, like I said, we get in their kitchen, he's pretty solid, but that's like once in a while. So well, hopefully that definitely becomes a little bit more habitual is probably the best way to put it. His bull rush is not effective. It just doesn't have any juice to it. His strength, though, is pretty solid. This again, we're talking about anchoring against the run. Second move, really just top move is just very effective. It's kind of it's a sort of like, this is where I'm talking about. He might have bricks for hands, but I mean, when he gets that lands at least something, it works enough. He has no finesse rush. His speed rush is obviously solid. He relies on the edge there. Other than that, though, he does set the edge really well. Again, a lot of these guys doing this year's draft because, again, they played a lot of edge rusher guys. And obviously, he does have a decent bit of off-ball impact. Again, I really just think that's because, again, we talk about, again, against the run, there's going to be definitely something to him being able to close things out. But potential Gabe 70, he's just a guy that I don't really think is at least technically gifted enough as a pass rusher to really warrant, again, a true starting role, being able to do stuff off of that. But, yeah, Uchenna Nwosu is also not really that technically gifted. He's just a better athlete. But they're very, very similar in their makeups as guys that are, have some athletic traits but aren't fully there as a pass rusher, or at least coming out to really, become an effective player. But Uchenna did it, so we'll see what happens to Derrick there.
Right. Took a vacation day to come and watch his kids play.
He played for the Detroit Lions, and we learned how to explain things after games.
Now we're on to a very fun dude. His name is DDS. And he's the first guy that does feature a pretty prominent spin move in this year's class. He used that a lot the past few years. Obviously, Abdul Carter was the main attraction in 2024, but he still gave you arguably better production. But he's been really, honestly, just again in his role. You look at 2022, 2023, really a rotational guy. But he has been rock solid in terms of consistency all 4 years. I will say the uptick in 2023 didn't really give you the same pressure rate, but other than that, I mean, it was pretty damn close. And even on tape, guys, he almost every snap, you don't really see too much of a deviation, other than obviously the mistakes you'll see. But in terms of his overall play, I mean, he's not like going through games thinking, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing. He's got a very good set of what's going to go on, and it's something that I think, again, is very hard to find, again, in terms of the consistency with his game. But for Dani as a prospect, there's definitely not a lot to talk about that's super really eye-popping. He's not really much of an explosive guy off the edge. Again, he has definitely debilitating bend in a lot of ways. I mean, it's not a fun thing to watch. But really where he's going to win is, again, being, again, not really win, but be a guy that can at least get something going to where his bull rush does really become the number one move, which is where this came from. And his second move, obviously, is honestly a forklift. He used that a lot. I didn't really talk about a spin move just yet, but that's kind of where this sort of, again, I guess that second move kind of plays into that as well. It's kind of a mixture of both. As a finesse rush, I mean, you have some sort of thing attacking the tackle laterally, but nothing of too big of notes. And obviously, speed rush is not great at all. And again, I don't really think he lands his hands too great either. Again, talking about these leverage and strength things with stopping the run, even being able to, not get anchored. His strength definitely, he rarely gets anchored down by a tackle, honestly. So that's where that comes in. But again, his leverage is sometimes a little bit shady. So from what I saw, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue because, again, the strength. But at the same time, you never really know. Other than that, guys, again, we just look at he's a very competent run defender. That's why he played so much. It's because, again, really, if we're not talking about defensive rotation, but if, again, the pass rusher wasn't in the field, he was going to be out there to basically say, hold up the integrity of this gap, figure it out. And that's what James Franklin wanted, and, he did it. His athleticism is definitely really good. He's just got, again, nifty, makes plays a lot of other guys aren't going to be able to. But at the same time, it's something special. 74 on the potential. Definitely a power-centric pass rusher, but definitely has a run defending capabilities to definitely be a competent player. 74.8, though, Greg Rousseau, who is a much, and I mean, was at least, he was definitely at some sort of finesse game. That's really the difference between the two, but they're very, very similar run defenders coming.
14 personnel. MK down to the 35, and the ball is out, and it's picked up, and they are going to...
Continuing here, we are now to the other Auburn edge rusher. That's Keldric Foulk, and yes, he is a very fun guy to look at. Yeah, the numbers weren't great last year. I'm not going to lie to y'all. He just didn't really really didn't engage much enough with blocks to consistently be able to drive himself upfield. But as a pass rusher, he got a lot of, I really say, close enough sacks is probably the best way to put it. But at the same time, he definitely saw a decrease of snaps towards the end of the season. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but definitely something to note there. Overall, though, it's kind of just a frustrating season from, again, after a very productive 2024. But at the same time, still showed some big improvements that, again, really, again, kind of attribute to, are really attributed to his attention to detail, which we'll get into right now. Keldric as a prospect is a guy that has a wide range of, I'd really say, strong skills that don't really, again, they're not going to get worse, or definitely not going to get worse is probably the best way to put it. His first and second step are really not notable. That's the best way to put it. In terms of his pre-snap position, he gave a 76 because he's a guy that you can move cheat a little bit inside in terms of, we're talking about a 5-tech issue, straight up there. But at the same time, it's just not something that you really look at as a viable option in other situations, so that's why I kind of put it there. Overall, his bend is kind of just average. I think that might be even being nice. I think it's a little bit hard to say because he's still able to get himself small enough to where he's able to, threaten that edge, but not really on the basis of him just being that, flexible. Same time though, his handwork is definitely I'd say a little more advanced than some other guys. Really, the improv comes back to his ability to land the first punch with, again, enough power to kind of build off of that, which I think is pretty interesting. But still, not really fully taking advantage of that kind of development there. But anyways, him in terms of his pass rush moves here, I don't really care about his leverage or strength, guys. Obviously, he's a freaking strong dude. He's an absolute freaking monster, boys. But yeah, still, his moves. His primary move, I'm just going to be honest with you guys, is kind of just speed to power. And I don't really love it, but it gets pressure. So, I mean, do your thing with that. And his bull rush, obviously, by itself, gets a lot of pressure by itself. By itself, I guess. But yeah, his finesse rush and speed rush are nothing special. He is very relentless. This is why he gets, that's why he gets pressure. It takes him 10 seconds, but he figures it out. And then, yeah, setting the edge, gave an 80. Again, he's very consistent. Sometimes, we're talking about a double team there. It's probably not going to end well, which is probably, again, talking about splitting guys, stuff like that could definitely get better. Block gave an 89. That really just comes back to the fact that he is very good at taking on blocks and making it hard for a tackle to really get into his grill. Athleticism to 92. This shows him a much of tape. We're talking about measurables here. Definitely RAS for sure agrees with this. Even on tape, there's definitely a sign of him showing this a lot. I just don't think this entire athletical profile will show until he's in the league. And then I gave him an 85 for potential because he's a guy that has the goods as a power rusher to kind of build some sort of speed package that will complement whatever kind of gift he has as a improv. But 82.1 overall, I said Arden Key's comparison. He was obviously Titans' number one edge rusher last year. Didn't work well, but at least he got the opportunity.
It was a need. You wonder if that's hampering Concepcion. Reed running for his life and goes down.
All right, now let's look at Reuben Bain Jr. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. He's obviously been a guy that has gotten a lot of coverage throughout the NFL draft process here. One thing I'll note, if we're talking about short arms, yes, he does have T-Rex arms, if you were wondering. That is something on tape. It shows up sometimes. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But obviously, last year he had an absolutely fantastic season. 9 sacks, 15 tackles for loss. We got double teamed on every play and still got a ton of pressure and was very good against the run. He's a very well-rounded player and has kind of insane maturity that you just don't see for a guy that has only played 3 years in college, and even then he never really had a standout game until he played Notre Dame. Him and Akheem Mesidor obviously went off there, and that kind of set them mode for the season. Obviously, he was huge in their title run, so good for him there. But Reuben Bain as prospect, there's not really many weaknesses to his game. Really, it's his length, and even then, like I said, doesn't show up. Again, he doesn't really show up on tape enough for that to be that big of an issue. I will say something that definitely doesn't stand out is his first and second step. Again, he's not a speed-centric pass rusher. For that reason, I don't really see this as, again, a huge surprise. At least on tape. Pre-snap position is 91. You can put it wherever you want. 87 for the bend. Honestly, guys, I think his bend is not as far from David Bailey as some people think. I still don't think it's good enough to really, again, warrant an elite categorization because it's more of a consistency with him than actual, oh my god, what did I just see sort of thing. I will say, though, his handwork efficiency isn't as, again, it isn't all that because of the fact that he doesn't really have a... he's just not as accurate as I think you might have think he is. There's certain situations where he is, but that plays more into a speed rush. That's kind of where I said there. Improvisation is obviously there. He is probably, again, other than Akheem, very, very nuanced. He has a very deep bag of plans, and they almost always were chosen right, and even then, it's really about the timing with him. Leverage consistency to 110. This is really in terms of him being as a run defender. He's always going to pin you down and make sure that you are not in a position to where you can move him out of place where he can't make a play anymore. Strength to 105. Again, this just comes back to the pin down. He's really hard to just move. On top of the fact that this is again a very I'd say continuous thing with them. It also compounds. But bull rush gave a 105. This is probably the most, arguably the most dominant bull rush in this year's draft. I mean, maybe Cal Banks, but he's got that just completely displaces you and uses that really in every single one of his moves. Second move is a club rip under. It is gross. The reason I didn't give it higher than a 93 is because it's not going to be as effective in the league. I can tell you that right now. But still, it was fun to watch. Finesse is an 86. This is him not really attacking laterally, but more of kind of having an outside counter off of it, and it really works well. Speed rush is still solid. He gets pressure with it. It's just not going to be used as much because, again, why would he if he, again, isn't a speed rusher? 80 on relentlessness. Again, this is just kind of an untested thing with him, but when we have seen him kind of get like work for plays, still it's definitely more rewarding there. 98 for setting the edge. There are a couple of times where he doesn't anchor completely. That kind of hurts his ability, kind of make a play on the ball. But on that, again, it's very rare for, again, his run integrity to just completely go out the window there. Block shedding gave him a 103. He sheds blocks a lot, and he does it really fast. 102 on the, what am I talking about? Setting the edge. We got to lock in. Obviously, 98 playmaking. He's going to make a lot of plays in the league. Athleticism, 78. He isn't the guy that really sees as a special athlete. I mean, he's obviously a good athlete, pretty explosive, but it's more functional than anything. 86 for the potential. I think I'm not saying he's close to his full here, but he's a guy that's very, very refined and developed. And again, definitely has something more to his game, but I think he is a guy that already has a very diverse package that a lot of teams just wouldn't even need to teach. So that's kind of where his value comes in. That's why he comes out to the highest grade we have looked at so far out of any prospect at any position in this year's draft at a 91.1. Will that change with Jeremiah Love? I mean, hopefully, but we'll just have to wait and see for that. And off the heels of Reuben Bain, we go to TJ Parker. He's a guy that obviously a lot of people before the season were projecting as even a top 10 pick, but I think that was more the Peter Woods effect than anything. Still, he had a pretty damn good year at Clemson last year. His run defense, yeah, obviously definitely took a step down from 2024. Not gonna lie, he was definitely worse. But still a tremendous year in the fact that we still saw a lot of flashes that I think were honestly even more constant than we saw in 2024, a season where most of his games were kind of set in the mindset that he was going to be winning cleanly, and that wasn't always the case last year. So no, I'm joking. He had a down year in 2025. We're not even going to lie about that. But for TJ Parker as a prospect, 72 for the pre-snap. He's kind of just a guy you can kind of put in really three spots where I think that's kind of where we set kind of the baseline there. First and second step are also really solid. That's not really changed at all. Maybe not the reaction of the tackle more than anything, but still really solid. He's the guy that's going to win, really, if he doesn't win clean with his unbeknownst or unseen bend. Holy crap. He has elite bend. There's no other way to put it. He gets around the corner about as good as he gets. So, again, that's why he has to win cleanly there. His handwork is just not really there. It's not a bad thing, but, could definitely be better. Leverage consistency gave 67. Really just against the run, he's not always in the right spot. That's kind of where that comes in. Strength is 68. There are times where he's able to give some sort of jolt, but it's not really anything more than, just kind of maintaining where he's at. His bull rush is non-existent, and it's also a pain to watch. I gave it a 10 because I'm not going to lie, guys. He just doesn't do anything with it. Even then, he barely uses it in the first place. So, kind of like a Ben Simmons shooting three sort of situation. Yeah, or layups even, bro. I don't know. What's Ben Simmons up to now? But anyways, his move package, they're all really effective. It's just, again, some are definitely a little bit more clean than others, really just stepping the speed rush. Other than that, so we keep going down here. He doesn't really take a liking to setting the edge. I'll just put it like that. And going down here, he sheds blocks pretty efficiently. I think that's probably something that's actually kind of surprising for a lot of people. But yeah, he rarely gets put in a situation where he's, again, he's going to be compromised there. Athleticism is an 86. Again, really good athlete, guys. Again, it's kind of just there, even though he might not test exactly like that. Some people give him like 100. I don't even know. Do what you want with that. But I think on tape it definitely is mitigated a little bit. Potential's an 82, though. He's definitely got the pass rush prowess and just really explosiveness off the edge again. Give you some really good quality there, but it's more the fact if he can actually develop a second move of actual value. But Draymond Jones is my comparison because he's a lot of bend too.
Grunkemeyer. Here comes a pressure. Arvell Reese.
Alright guys, now let's get to the screaming versatile demon, that being Arvell Reese. He is the guy that is, we'll just say, is a reclamation project, but he's about as high potential as it gets, as he is out of Ohio State. He was their most transcendent defender last year outside of Caleb Downs. He just went absolutely off, guys. 2023, no one really knew who he was. I mean, some people, I guess they did. 2024, though, really came on towards the end of that year. Still didn't really get the full pass rush role that I think that a lot of people were expecting. Last year, though, basically did absolutely everything for that defense. Had an absolutely phenomenal season. Still, though, a lot of the progression in terms of a pure pass rusher definitely still weren't there, as again, at least off the edge. So we'll see again how that's really projected in the league. But we look at him as a pass rusher, at least in my opinion, here going to the NFL. But again, as you guys know, he is just I won't say generational athlete, but pretty damn close to that. But for Arvell Reese here, looking at him overall, pre-snap, I don't think it's anything more than him being a kind of a 7 tech. I think that's where he's best fit. Again, if we're talking about off the line, that's a whole different thing. That's what I have on him there. First step, second step are definitely special. He gets the line off the line really, really freaking well. It's not maybe the best in this class, but it's definitely pretty close. His bend is gross. We already talked about T.J. Parker. Yeah, he's right there with him. Handwork efficiency and improvisation are just kind of what I've gone off of. It's not great. He does have a powerful club move, which I think is interesting enough, but it's still not, again, proven just yet. Leverage consistency is an 80. We're just really talking about him downhill. He's able to do this somewhat well. If we're talking about, like, again, a little bit more directly, we'll see on that. Strength 79. He's not a huge dude, but he's still, again, got pretty damn good raw strength. Blitz is bull rush is an 81. He actually has shown to use this pretty well, and he actually gets decent enough penetration off of it. It's just, I don't know how much of this is going to actually be more of a kind of a build-off move or an actual, like legitimate use at the win. Second move, or really his top move, is kind of a variance of a cross chop, to be honest with you guys, and there's actually a little bit of, like I said, the club move in there. So that's actually something I'm actually surprised he's been able to develop. Finesse rush, again, it's basically an inside counter. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Speed rush is a 110. He's gonna just basically blow y'all off blow someone off the edge. It happens a lot. But yeah, 90 for relentlessness. He plays a really high motor throughout the game. He makes he's gonna make a crap ton of plays, guys. Even though the production might not speak to it, he is a guy that I guarantee, if he's in the right system, will be making a lot of plays for y'all. Setting the edge is a 97, obviously. 86 for block shedding. I kind of just eyeballed that, to be honest with you guys, because there were a lot of plays where it's kind of ambiguous, but it was still to a point where he wasn't, like, again, losing the rep, or he was able to disengage in time. Off the ball impacts opposite 120. He is an absolute, again, monster of an athlete. You can put him wherever you want in the field; they'll figure it out. Just straight up insane versatility right there. Athleticism, give a 110. Again, he is like I said, transcendent athlete in this year's class, and he's pretty close to, again, as good as you get. Potential is as high as it's got. He's just like that. Micah Parsons, my comparison, I have a 90.3 overall. Yeah, he did beat out David Bailey. We'll get to that in a little bit, though. We have one more guy to get to, and he's pretty important.
Under center now for the first time today. Play action. Stepping up in the pocket. He cannot escape.
Alright, last guy we're going through here before we get the overall rankings of the game, Gabe Jacas out of Illinois. He is a fun edge rusher. He had an 11 sack, 8 sack season there, 2 years at Illinois. He had a very nice progression in his overall pass rush makeup. Last year he was much, and I mean much more utilized as a guy who's going to get quick pressure more than exactly being integral to the run defense, but still was very conservative in that new role he had, which, again, might have contributed to him maybe not getting as much pressure as I think he could have had, but still not completely blowing his assignments as a run defender, because that defense definitely had some instances last year where that was definitely going to be a problem, but he figured it out. But for Gable, why am I on Arvell Reese, bro? What the hell? Now we're on Gabe. Gabe Jacas. I'm not going to lie to you guys, there's not really a ton to him that, again, exactly stands out, but on the other end, he's not a guy that really struggles with much either. He's a very well-rounded player because, like I said, as a pass rusher, I like his makeup. It's very, really kind of grounded is probably the best way to put it. He's a strong dude, though. That's probably the biggest thing I'd say that stands out with him. He's a guy that will be able to handle really anything that's thrown at him in terms of run defending, and even then, like, we're talking about a guy who's gonna try to knock him over as an offensive lineman. They're not gonna be able to do that, because when the moment they anchor, he's able to combat that with his own strength. But at the same time, it's not some bona fide elite trait of his. Other than that, though, there's really not a lot that I want to say is a complete weakness from him. I will say that probably the biggest thing that's pressing him right now, that's the reason we got a 75.7, and similar to what Harold Landry struggled with before he really got that true power move going, was the fact that he doesn't really have, a dominant number one move. And that, again, it's just something, all these other guys have some sort of identity with it, and with him, it's kind of hard to say what his actual number one move is. And for that reason, I gave him, it's again, he's got to have a better number one move than, saying it's like, I don't know, we'll say, oh yeah, ghost move, that's what he's going to be doing. It's kind of hard to pinpoint that with him, and that's why, again, it's 75.7 overall. But other than that, guys, I want to be like a little bit more specific here, but there's no other way to put it. He's just a guy that really has no real weakness at the same time, but no real strength as a pass rusher. And as a run defender, he's very solid. So he again, well-rounded prospect, very high ceiling, but it's just, or not high ceiling, very high floor. But to what can you really do with him other than have him be in a very, again, not even defensive role, kind of like a do-it-all role is probably the best way to put it. And now, guys, looking at our overall rankings, we do have Zion Young coming in at 80. I already talked about it with him. He's just an absolute beast. He's got a perfect build for the NFL. But it's just, again, there's some things in terms of his pass rush tendencies on top of the fact that he doesn't have an elite bend that are going to hurt his overall draft stock. But still, a really solid prospect. Armis Thomas, I went to him pretty quickly, 81.3, but he's a really good athlete. He got a lot of pressure for Oklahoma last year. He's just an absolute monster. Akheem Mesidor, 83.8, most advanced passers in this year's class, but he's unk as hell, so I mean, take that as you will. Cashius Howell came to a 78.3, arguably should probably be higher for a lot of people, but it's just the fact that I don't really think this is a dude that exactly has the goods to consistently be able to put up numbers. Perkins, 82.5. He's a guy that a lot of people thought was the best, or one of the best pass rushers coming into the draft, going into last season. But again, we look at his athletical profile, definitely took a hit with his, again, kind of really just his loss of suddenness on the field last year. But still, very versatile guy that's going to still give you top of the line bend and speed rush when you need it. Vincent Anthony Jr. I gave a 34.7. He's just really a power rusher, dude. He's kind of one of the more boring guys in this year's draft off the edge, but he's still going to give you a bunch of reliability that a lot of other guys might not be able to promise. David Bailey came out to a 90.2. He's just a guy that's going to give you just raw explosiveness with control, which is, again, hard to find in the first place. But yeah, he's got a real skill set that, again, is highly coveted at the top of this year's draft. Keryon Crawford at 75.5. For me, it's just he's a guy that isn't going to be doing a ton for you in terms of high impact plays. And last year wasn't exactly great either, but he still gives you a lot of good shifty stuff that again is definitely compelling to look at. And really on tape, like I said, he's an appeasing guy to watch. Derrick Moore, 74.9. It's really just the bend with him, and really just the fact he doesn't have much of a pass rush. But still, he's a pretty damn good or pass rush plan. But he's still a guy that gives you high octane and really good consistency, I'd say. Dani Dennis-Sutton, very unique guy because he's basically doing whatever he wants out there. Solid improvisation. It's just, as a run defender, he doesn't always consistently hold down blocks, on top of the fact that he doesn't take on blocks well, so not a great combination with that. Keldric Foulk, 82.1, talked about a little bit of a down year last year, but still was able to kind of show improvements, which is huge in his development. Reuben Bain, 91.1. He does a lot of things well, and he's really good, even though he has T-Rex arms. CJ Parker, 79.9. Obviously, he's got great bend. But he needs to win clean, or he will not be getting as much pressure as he probably should. Arvell Reese comes out to a 90.3. Like I said, he's just an absolutely phenomenal athlete who just, I'm telling you right now, has potential as high as this guy. And we wrapped up with Gabe Jacas. I don't know where this went, but again, he's out of Illinois. You all know what he looks like. He's also pretty good. All right, and there's your overall rankings. Looking at this, odds Reuben Bain's my number one guy. Again, really different between him and David Bailey is the fact that David Bailey doesn't really have consistent development so far, and I'd rather take Reuben Bain in that sense, on top of the fact that, again, really the only reason Arvell Reese is above him is because of the value, guys. Keep that in mind. So, obviously, David Bailey overall is a better pure pass rusher, but again, Reuben Bain's above him anyway, so it really doesn't matter there. And then Akheem Mesidor is my number 4. I got Perkins at 5, and then obviously the rest of these. So, I think it's a pretty definite, or at least closer to consensus, top 15, but that is what I have for y'all on this. Again, see y'all for the running backs at some point in a little bit. And then, yeah, enjoy your night. And, yeah, see you for the running backs soon.
Wow. Michigan at the 41. What a hit! Ball's free! On the ground! South Carolina deserves to have it, and they do! Cloud
into the Michigan backfield.